Hey guys, it's Dean Odell. It is time for season-ending Tustin Talks. Look at my festive season shirt. My help here is just laughing at me. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so it's end of the year. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy. You know what? What are we going to talk about today? It's going into the new year for real estate. What's going to be happening in real estate? Is this market going to crumble? Is it 2007 all over again? Okay, well, we're going to talk about that right now. It is December 23rd, and let's get to the charts. Okay, so let's take a look at this chart, which I wanted to create for you guys. Notice the dates on the bottom left, July 05, and the dates on the right, all the way up till September, the last quarter of 2020. That is a 15-year timeline for those of us who aren't real good in math, okay? I want you to notice the light green line. The normal inventory in Orange County that we really want to have on the market is somewhere between 10 and 12,000 homes. As you can see, that's what it was back in earlier 05. Then what happened was inventory started shooting up, and you could see where it peaked at 20,000 homes. And you could almost see, if you go straight down that green line from 20,000 homes, you'll notice that you're going to run into right where the demand started to fall, because there was just way more supply than there was demand, plus seasonal changes, getting into the fourth quarter, Christmas time, all that kind of stuff, right? So you can see the red line. That signifies the homes that were going in escrow. And you can see that by about, I'd say, early 08, right when the housing crisis came into full bloom and everybody knew about it, that is when our demand was the lowest. Following that red line, you can kind of see the normal patterns of demand. And then all of a sudden, boom, a huge spike, right? 2013, people started gobbling the homes up, right? And then you can just keep following that all the way through to the very end, and you can see another big spike up after what we call now the big C, because we're not allowed to use that word in our video or YouTube will censor it. So we're just going to call big C's everything that's happened since March, and I think we all know what that is. Okay, then following the blue line, you can see that signifies the amount of new listings on average that came to market. So you can see the seasonal changes there, how they go up and they go down. And then you can see this weird little seasonal change in 2020 towards the end of that chart, which is when what we're calling the big C hit, and we had a dip when we normally have a rise, and then all of a sudden we just skyrocketed, right? Because everybody started getting their homes on the market when they were comfortable with selling. So let's move to the next chart. So what we want to show you here is how things are comparing now versus, say, 14 years ago. You can look at all these different comparisons, but let's just go back and look at the historical comparison for Orange County. I want you to kind of take a look at that chart on the top right. What you'll see is from October of 19 to September of 2020, you could see by the end of the first quarter, when you compare the quarters, we only had 3,829 homes on the market this last quarter, versus going back 14 years ago, we had 17,531 homes on the market. Now remember, I said a normal market, we need about 10 to 12,000 homes. So you could see there was an oversupply there, obviously. Look at the new listings, 34,542 versus 62,000 listings, okay? Look at the solds, 27,000 for the 12 months from September 19 to 2020. You look at that versus back then, the sales weren't really that different. But what was the difference? You had all this inventory at 17,000 homes. If you look at pendings, it's kind of the same way. Not all that different, but look at all the inventory. So what happens is, as that inventory builds and builds and builds, now you got competition, right? So when you got competition, people have to start lowering their prices. Even though we had a ton of inventory, we still had relatively the same amount of demand going on out there. So that's pretty interesting. All right. And then if you just look at the other charts, you'll kind of see how we've done in the last 12 months versus a year ago. But I want you to take a look at the bottom right chart. And if you look at that bottom right chart, that's pretty interesting, because what you're going to see is that we're going to start the year this year right around 2,600 listings when you look at that, versus 3,500 listings, 3,559. So you can really see that our sales, even though our sales and our pendings are up, our inventory is way down. And this, my friends, is why it is not 2007 and why the market is not going to blow up. Okay, now this next chart, super complicated. I'm just going to let you guys freeze it and leave it on the screen and study it for yourselves. That's where a lot of the data is come from and where we are deriving our conclusions. Just to tell you how to read that chart, if you look at the top left, that's July 05 through September 05. If you look at the top right, that's July 2020 through September 2020. So just read those numbers from left to right across the top, and you will see how things have changed big time. Have fun looking at all those numbers. I'm not going to go through them all with you. And let's see the next chart. Okay, next chart. We were going to finish up with our Tustin data. We have to have our local data, keep you guys informed. 92705, 92780, and 92782. Let's look at those and how they compare. Don't need to walk you through that. You've been through enough of them with me, but I mean, you could just see, again, the amount of listings are down, the amount of sales are up. What was very, very interesting though, was the amount of new listings, especially in the 92705 zip code. The amount of listings was up 69% and the amount of pendings was up 113%. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, take a look at those. And then I think that's it. I'm just gonna wrap this up by giving you some advice. All right, guys, just to conclude this year and this Tustin Talks, I'm just going to tell you that in my humble opinion, after doing this 30 years, market's not going to crash this year, you guys. It's not going to crash. You got interest rates at 2.5%. They were at 6.25% back in that 06, 07 era. People have a lot more borrowing power than they did before. Average house back then would have cost you $800 a month more to own than it does now, 15 years later. So that's pretty good. You know, that's really, really good. Yes, it's costing you more in the absolute dollars, but you know, if you're buying for the long term, you're going to be bragging about a 2.5% interest rate. You're not going to be worried about what you paid. Just pay the damn thing off and build yourself some equity, right? So, but if you're moving anywhere soon, you know, make sure you can rent it. And sellers, congratulations. You're going to end this year on top. And it's your market, but you still can't overprice, you know. So give us a call and we'll help you if we can. And we'll see you on the next Tustin Talks after the first of the year. Thanks. Bye-bye.